Somewhere right now, a woman is lying in a hospital bed, surrounded by monitors, an IV in her arm, an anesthesiologist on standby, and a team of people whose only job is to make sure she and her baby survive the next few hours. That is what birth looks like today. Clean, controlled, survivable. For 99% of human history, none of that existed. No hospitals, no epidurals, no sterile tools, no one who understood what infection was, let alone how to stop it. And yet your ancestors did this, millions of times. In caves, in open fields, in the middle of winter, surrounded by people who had no idea what was happening inside a human body. So how did they survive? The answer is more surprising than you think, and it reveals something about your own biology that most people have never been told. Let's start with the problem. Human birth is uniquely dangerous compared to almost every other animal on the planet. A foal drops from its mother and stands within the hour. A dolphin calf is born tail first and immediately swims. Most mammals give birth quickly, quietly, and alone. Not us. Human babies are born with enormous heads, the result of a brain that tripled in size over the last 2 million years. At the same time, our pelvis narrowed when we stood upright. Walking on 2 legs changed the entire geometry of birth. The result is what scientists call the obstetric dilemma. Human babies have to rotate 90 degrees during delivery just to fit through the birth canal. No other primate does this. This didn't happen overnight. 2 million years ago, early Homo erectus births were already more dangerous than any other primate. By the time anatomically modern humans appeared 300,000 years ago, childbirth had become one of the most lethal events in any human's life. And death was common, not rare, common. Estimates from skeletal remains and modern hunter-gatherer data suggest that 1 in 8 births ended in the mother's death. But here's the part that changes everything. They knew this was coming. Every woman who reached adulthood had already watched other women give birth, had watched some of them not survive it, and she understood that at some point it would be her turn. So what did they actually do? The first answer is the position. Across dozens of ancient cultures, on every inhabited continent, the evidence points to the same thing. Early humans did not give birth lying on their backs. That position only became common in the 17th century. Before that, squatting, always squatting. Skeletal analysis of ancient female pelvises shows wear patterns consistent with deep squatting across a lifetime. Cave art from multiple continents depicts birth scenes where the woman is upright, supported by 2 people on either side. Squatting is mechanically superior. Gravity assists the process. The pelvic outlet widens by up to 30% compared to lying flat. Your body already knows this. Women's bodies have been doing it for hundreds of thousands of years before anyone told them to lie down. The second answer is community. Birth was never a solitary event. Anthropological study of modern hunter-gatherer groups, the closest living parallel to early human life, shows consistently that birth is attended by other women, older women, experienced women, women who had done this before and survived. This proto-midwifery has no formal name in the archaeological record, but it's there. Sites from as far back as 300,000 years ago show evidence of communal living arrangements where women clustered together. The knowledge passed between generations wasn't written anywhere. It was spoken, demonstrated, held in the hands of women who knew how to reposition a baby, how to apply pressure, when to intervene, and how. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. Plants. Early humans used plants medicinally in ways that modern science is only now confirming. Neanderthals, our closest evolutionary cousins, were buried with flowers from plants still used in traditional medicine today. Yarrow, groundsel, ephedra. Among hunter-gatherer groups studied in the 20th century, researchers documented specific plant preparations used during labor. Blue cohosh to stimulate contractions. Raspberry leaf, still recommended today. Black cohosh for pain. Shepherd's purse to slow hemorrhage after delivery. These weren't accidents. This was pharmacology built from tens of thousands of years of careful observation. Women watching what worked, what didn't, what killed, passing the knowledge forward 1 generation at a time. But here's what modern research has confirmed about that hemorrhage problem. Postpartum bleeding was the single biggest killer, not the birth itself, what came after. An estimated 25% of maternal deaths in pre-modern populations came from hemorrhage in the hours following delivery. And there was nothing to stop it. No transfusions, no oxytocin injections, no surgery. Just pressure, plant preparations, and whatever the body could do on its own. Sometimes it was enough, often it wasn't. the baby faced its own survival problem. Archaeological data from Paleolithic burial sites suggests that somewhere between 30% and 50% of children did not survive to age 5. Many died within days of being born. The causes were invisible to early humans: infection from an unclean cut of the umbilical cord, hypothermia, complications from a difficult delivery that injured the infant during birth, diseases that had no name and no cure. What they did understand was simpler and harder than that. A baby who could not be kept alive was a threat to the group's survival. Resources were finite. A mother's energy was finite. An infant born too weak, too early, or too damaged might mean the difference between a group that survived the winter and one that didn't. Now, this is the part nobody wants to say. Infanticide was practiced across early human populations, not as cruelty, as calculation. Archaeological evidence from Paleolithic sites across Europe, Asia, and Africa shows newborn remains that were not given the same burial treatment as older children. Anthropologists have documented this practice in isolated hunter-gatherer communities into the 20th century. It remains one of the most consistent and least discussed realities of prehistoric human life. But it worked. Not for everyone, not safely, not by any standard we would accept today, but the species survived. Through 2 million years of births with no medicine, no understanding of infection, no surgical tools, the line held. Because of knowledge, shared, spoken, inherited knowledge, passed from mother to daughter to granddaughter across thousands of generations. What worked and what didn't. Which plant to use and when. Which position. When to intervene, when to let go. That knowledge was never written. It lived in people. It survived because birth was never something a woman faced alone. For most of human existence, the most dangerous moment of a woman's life was also the most communal. The sterile hospital room, the stranger in scrubs, the door closed against the world, that is the historical anomaly, not the norm. Think about what your existence actually required. Every single maternal ancestor you have survived childbirth, not just once, most of them multiple times. So the next time someone says childbirth is natural and therefore simple, remember what natural actually meant for 300,000 years. It meant a 1 in 8 chance of dying. It meant trusting your life to plants and the hands of the women beside you. It meant that surviving was never guaranteed. It just happened to work out for every single one of your ancestors. Every single one.